What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis, your course of the LCK Dragas, and finally we are here for the UBL D-League Season 1 Finals versus Skyrander and his team beating Scandinavian Stoutlands, and this is probably the matchup that I was hoping to see for the finals in itself too, as long as I made it myself, and who I was most looking forward to face, considering how he has been playing throughout this season after facing him in week 1. So we are finishing off this season with the matchup that it started with Skyrander, and he has proven himself to be the second most consistent player throughout the season after myself. When you can look at his record, he went 7-2, only losing to myself in week 1, and then he lost to Jetman throughout the regular season due to a unfortunate crit turn 1 versus a Chronon to his own Tangrowth, dying to a crit knockoff. So besides losing to me in week 1, which was a pretty clear win for me, and losing to a Haxi situation with Jetman, he has been able to win out his entire season, the rest of the games, to the point that with hyper offensive slash setup varianted offensive approach that he has taken, he has found a lot of success throughout that versus his opponents, and therefore really showcased that he is definitely one of the contenders for the title or for the finals matchup at very least. And I think no matter what happens in this battle, both of us have done more or less so, comparing two of us, that both of us have done at least enough to the point to earn our spot in the finals and have the chance to win the title for the UBL D-League Season 1. His roster you can see right in front of you, and I'm gonna be going quick with my sets, hopefully, and then we jump into the replay itself and see how it's gonna go, and then we have some aftermath talk, reflecting what happened, and maybe if I have time I reflect on the season as a whole, or I make a separate video for that, depending on how much time this is gonna take. But going with the sets that I'm gonna be bringing, start to left to right, I'm gonna be bringing a Choice Bandit Kyurem-Black with Adamant Nature, Max Attack, with Outrage, Fusion Bolt, Zen Headbutt, and Iron Head. And this thing's main mission is to surprise factor him already potentially in turn 1 and predict him to lead with something that deals with a potential offensive Rotom-Heat, even a Choice Specs variant that I utilized in week 1, and something that I would anticipate potentially being the case would be his Diancie. And that is why I wanted to go with Choice Bandit variant, because even if he happens to be a Paripi Berry variant, and he happens to bring it, which I would highly anticipate him to bring as a Stealth Rocker and a Fire Resist, and ways to deal with Kyurem-Black and a Mega Galate potentially on a proper health, I still will OHKO it back because I'm Adamant Nature and Choice Bandit with the Iron Head. I will be able to also OHKO a Jellicent, barring a Wakam Berry from full with a Fusion Bolt, or I have like 99.5 or 7 chance. I basically have a very high chance to kill it outright from full. And Conkeldurr the same thing, either with Zen Headbutt or with Outrage. Outrage is more accurate move and more damaging output move, even compared to Zen Headbutt, because it's stab and such a high base power move, and that will kill Conkeldurr even from full as well. And that's something that I really look forward to with this set, and catching him off guard, because last time I utilized a Expert Belt Modest variant of Kyurem-Black and took advantage of his Ice and Fire resist being so weak on his Organode Trap. Now he does have Jellicent to help out with it, which definitely could be brought to this game, or I highly anticipate it. So I wanted to be able to deal with those kind of scenarios, and Kyurem-Black hopefully gonna dish a lot of damage and just break through his team as well as possible, while at the same time with the natural bulk to take a lot of different one hits from his offensive threats in itself. Then we have the Rotom-Heat yet again coming like we did last time, but unlike last time with Choice Spec set, now we are still going with Modest variant, almost max special attack, but now we are running Ipapa Berry, which is one of those 50% berries, which will be providing me health once I'm basically 25% or below that, and that's why we are running almost max HP, just enough so we are at highest number as a even number in itself. And then we have Volt Switch, Overheat, Defog, and Pain Split, and this said Ordinary turned into a Papa Berry compared to some other items that I was running potentially on this, because I wanted to have a form of recovery very quickly if I have to switching to Jellicent or Thundurus Incarnate, for example. I'm saying switching to Jellicent because if it is defensive variant, Scald won't be able to do too much to me, and it actually helps me get into the Papa Berry a lot quicker as long as it doesn't kill me, of course. And versus Thundurus Incarnate, depending on if it has a setup on, I can still live any hit from full, even it happens to be a Sea Crystal on it. And looking at his roster, that is one of his Sea Captains, as you can tell. And I highly anticipate him to be a Sea move. Either Flying Sea is the #1 thing that I should be thinking that he should be having on it, because I have Mega Gallade on my roster, and how big of a threat it is versus him with Drain Punch, Leaf Blade and Fire Punch as a Sword Dance variant, which is, by the way, the set that I'm running. So that is why I really emphasized on that. If the Thundurus Incarnate is gonna be having a C move, I can pivot into my Rotom-Heat when he goes for a C move, and depending on the health that I'm at, I can take it quite well. Flying C will be doing under 50%, so that could help me getting to the point of getting into my Papa Berry, which therefore helps me out dealing with that thing 1v1 and keep the longevity on that thing, and switch into potential knockouts a lot easier because I have used the berry. So that is kind of the idea with the Rotom-Heat, functioning as a pivot while at the same time doing a lot of damage and providing me momentum to my other offensive threats if he doesn't bring Psychic 50% to prevent me clicking Volt Switch. Then we have a mixed defensive Go for Kriegers with still Colbur Berry and Relaxed Nature as a boosting defensive nature on physical side to deal with Conkeldurr with the Colbur Berry in itself as well. Max HP, and then we have a lot of special defense investment to make sure that the Unseized Moonblast won't be too shutting me after Stealth Rocks. And funnily enough, this also works as a method to take a +2 Thunderbolt from a Thundurus Incarnate, as long as he's not Magnet / Sablade to boost its selected type moves, or he has the C move on it and he still hasn't used it throughout the battle. So if that's the case and I need to go for the damage with Shadow Ball, which will be doing 33.5 to 40% to a standard Thundurus Incarnate spread, which makes a lot of sense for him to force to be running versus a team with a 1 base 110 more like Mega Gallade. On that scenario, that can help my Greninja to revenge kill it if it happens not to be the Yachi Berry, for example, and then kill it with the Ice Beam easily. And then the Mega Gallade, like I mentioned, is the Drain Punch, Fire Punch, Leaf Blade and Sword Dance with Adamant Nature, not fully attack investment. I'm actually fully physically defensive variant with still being Adamant Nature, and the idea with physical defense is that it makes it as hard as possible for him to revenge kill it with his physical attackers with priority options like Zygarde E-Speed, Mega Scissors Bullet Punch, Mark Punch even from Conkeldurr, even though it's resisted, I still take a lot less with it when I'm going like this. And at full, I do actually live a natural fly from a Thundurus Incarnate, as long as he's not boosting item or he still has the Flying UMC coming into my way or happens to have a bulk up, for example. So that is kind of the idea. It also provides me a way to live a Zygarde's outrage as well, and then if it's in a proper range, +2 Drain Punch will be killing it. I only need like 1 overheat on the Zygarde if he tries to switch into my Rotom-Heat throughout the battle, to the point that +2 Drain Punch will kill it. And therefore, that's kind of reasoning I don't have Ice Punch over the Fire Punch what I have, because I really wanted to make sure that the Mega Scissor is dealt with a lot easier with my team, because I was more expecting that thing becoming a problem than the Zygarde actually is going to be, if it is going to be brought. Then the final 2 members, starting with the Landorus-Therian, it's gonna be this time around still defensive with max HP, 124 in defense with Implicit Nature and rest on speed to speed creep a Zygarde, speed creeping me versus my team if it happens to be Dragon Dance variant. And then we have Earthquake, Flying UMC with Fly as its attacking move, and Stealth Rocks and Sword Dance, and like the Flying UMC as its item, as you can tell what I've been saying about it. And this thing's role is mainly to provide me a switching to Mega Scissors knockoff if I still have Papa Berry on Rotom-Heat and I don't want that thing to be knocked off from it. And it can also check the Skyrander 50% as long as he doesn't see this coming, like I used last time the defensive variant versus him with leftovers. And if he happens to have hidden power ice, I actually do still leave it from full if he catches me off guard. And then I have Landorus-I hopefully to outspeed him if he's not like max speed to speed tie with Kyurem-Black and do a lot of damage to him with Landorus-I in itself. And when you look at his team, and if I find a turn to get up a +2 versus something like Mega Scissor, everything will be occurred by the Landorus-I, barring a Diancie, which is not a switching to a Landorus-Therian at +2, so everything else will be dropping into +2 fly if I find that turn. So while it's providing me stealth rocks, it's still a defensive response to certain things that I can see coming and I have to respect, and it can still putting a lot of pressure to him if I set up on a correct turn. And +2 fly does kill Thundurus Incarnate as well. So basically only the Diancie, like I said, is the only thing that can take that C move at +2. And then the final member of the team is gonna be Expert Belt Greninja with Water Shuriken, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse and U-turn. Water Shuriken is there just in case if he runs the Salazzle or is going to be bringing it, or if I happen to need the last ditch effort of Water Shuriken prior to if something is living up bare health and they are outspeeding my Greninja otherwise, or if he happens to have a Choice Golfer which is in a very low health, I can utilize the Water Shurikens to pick them off if they're in that range. Then we have Dark Pulse for the main stab, Ice Beam for his Ice Weak mons to revenge kill them, either Skyrander at full as long as he's not Yahtzee Berry, and Thundurus Incarnate after taking Stealth Rocks or like 24% of health at very least from something on my team will be revenge killed by the Ice Beam unless he's a Yahtzee Berry. But while Yahtzee Berry could make a lot of sense versus a tier with Kyurem-Black and Greninja to take the Ice move from them and blow them back with a stab, Thunderbolt or a Focus Blast as long as he lands it, I really do think he has to bring a C move versus me. When you look at his team and you look at Mega Gallade, when it's at +2, the only two mons in a neutral circumstances when the Trick Room is not up, for example, or I'm paralyzed or anything like that, as long as anything like that is not in place or Tailwind is being up, only C move, Thundurus Incarnate or a Explosion Azelf can kill my Mega Gallade, and because of that, Yahtzee Berry variant Thundurus Incarnate was something that I still wanted to have an emphasis on at worst case scenario. But I'm heavily anticipating Thundurus Incarnate having to be the C move. If the Thundurus Incarnate is not a C move, I consider that potential as a misprep from my opponent's behalf. And I'm kind of banking on that would not be the case for Skyrander, that he respects my tier 1 Mega Evolution properly and has a offensive ways to check it if his defensive responses won't be able to deal with me, and barring reducing berries, his defensive core does not deal with me. So that is why I'm kind of heavily anticipating the C move Thundurus Incarnate being the case. As of like I said, Explosion can be a problem if he brings like a Choice Scout variant, Choice Bandit variant, Focus as lead with Explosion can be a problem, which I have to make sure Gopher Kriegers is around to take that kind of hit if he happens to try to go for it. And after that, the only problematic mons that I really do see are the priority options in Conkeldur's Mach Punch versus my Kyurem-Black and Greninja, and Bandit D-Spin from Skyrander can turn into problem if my Gopher Kriegers is not around and everything else is in a range of dying to it. And those are kind of the ways that I see that he can at best check my offense, mainly the Mega Gallade but also the other things. And that's kind of what I'm thinking towards to that. As long as I'm able to break his defenses and I play around the Thundurus Incarnate when it goes for the C move versus my Mega Gallade correctly and make him burn that, I should be in a solid position to win this battle. But this is the game of Pokemon, everything can happen, so we have to still play our battles. This is why they are played and we have to see how it's going to go. But my approach to this battle, like I said, will be leading with the Kyurem-Black. I want to lead with this to make sure if he dares to lead with the Diancie or Conkeldurr, or with Jellicent it doesn't have like a Wakamberry, or literally everything barring Mega Scizor, I can 2-shot or OHKO immediately. Maybe even Mega Scizor if it's not physically defensively invested or a Impulse nature, I can still 2-shot it with Fusion Bolt, and as long as he doesn't knock me off, I still am able to do that 2-shotting in that sense. So that is gonna be my lead-off option going to this battle, leading with the Choice Banded Kyurem-Black, as he's gonna be leading with his Diancie. And here I was like, okay, this is exactly what I thought throughout the prep that I could potentially see him leading with, especially if I bring my Rotom-Heat for this battle and a couple of monsters weak to rocks. So I'm gonna be going for the Iron Head, hoping that he would stay in, but he does make the proper play of scouting the Iron Head and swaps into Jellicent. And based on that damage, as you can tell, I do a lot of damage being Choice Banded Adamant Kyurem-Black, even though it's not stab and it's resistant to a physical defensive Jellicent. He can tell from that I'm Choice Banded, so he made the proper play of scouting it. And now I make a aggressive play versus a Water type with my Fire type, but I was expecting a Will-O-Wisp, or as long as it's not a Water type move that I would not think him clicking versus a Kyurem-Black, I'm gonna go into my Rotom-Heat and go for the Volt Switch because he did not bring the Psychic 50%, so the Volt Switch is always free at this point. And now the Conkeldurr came in, spawns the hit as a Assault Vest set, and this gave me Mega Gallade, and here I'm gonna coming and putting in the work. My idea with this is that, okay, I'm gonna start punishing his defenses to go down to the point that hopefully the Thundurus Incarnate is the only thing remaining, and as long as he's forced to check me with that thing and burst the C move on something else in the back of my team when he's forced to go for it in front of my Mega Gallade, once that's been taken care of, I'm in a really solid position to hopefully win this battle. But he brought his Mega Scizor in, I guess thinking that I would not be packing Fire Punch, but I will carry the Fire Punch, and Mega Scizor is dead as all hell. Do this move, and we are gonna be able to pick off Mega Scizor at this point, and then he goes into Diancie. Now, here I figure that either he's gonna be Rindo Berry, or more likely he doesn't see this move coming. I'm gonna be going for it anyways, and I believe that he did not expect this to be coming at all. He was hoping to leave fighting type move if it was Drain Punch, or if I happen to carry Close Combat, he wanted to force me to go for that move with his Diancie and maybe lift the hit depending on his spread, but that wasn't going to be the case. I blew it back, and then he goes into his Tangrowth, and I was like, okay, is he trying to get some chip damage so the C move guarantee kills with the Thundurus Incarnate? Cause he's able to lift the Fire Punch barely at about 20% of health, and he's able to go for the Earthquake, but because I'm fully physical defensive, even a crit Earthquake did 50 HP towards me, so if he didn't get that crit, it would have done a lot less, and then it would have left me a lot more safer health versus a Electrium-C Thundurus Incarnate, but that wasn't going to be the case. He swapped into his Jellicent. I would think at this point that happens to be a Curse Body, and maybe he was banking that to happen, and therefore Tangrowth can deal with it easier, but that didn't happen, and I was able to finish that thing off. And now the only 3 monsters remaining on his team, while I haven't lost a mon yet, mind you. He has this Thundurus Incarnate remaining, then he has the Jellicent, which has taken now the Fire Punch, which should be around 75 to 80% of health. If I would guess around 70s, I would guess the most would be his range, or mid 70s. Then he has the Conkeldurr, which has taken a 1 Volt Switch at this point, and it's around 75 to 70%, maybe 80%, depending on what kind of hit I got with the Volt Switch and what percent it actually is. And then, like I said, the Thundurus Incarnate in front of me, and this is a huge turn, but I'm still banking on the fact that he has to have C-move on this thing, and based on that he didn't bring it immediately after I picked the first kill, I started to have a hunch that, okay, he may not be Flying C anymore. But the other C-move that I really anticipate him to then to be will be the Electrium C, and it would make a lot of sense how he has been playing at this point, especially with the Tangrowth and letting it go down and get the Earthquake damage off. Because if he is the Electrium C, now I definitely die to it at neutral. from the range of health I'm right now at. So I would be anticipating him going for that move and pause to go for that move when he should be having the Electrum-C as his item. So I'm gonna make the scouting play and swapping out, even if I would be leaving a natural Thunderbolt. But my idea with this is that while I'm up at 6-3, the only mon that can break all of these 3 mons together are either my Mega Gallade at +2 or my Kyurem-Black choice locked into outrage. But because he has 3 mons remaining, there's always a chance I only get 2 turns, which means that it gives a potential free turn into something else that I would not like to, or the Curse Body on the Jellicent can still be a problem if it gets in on a right turn. So I opted to scout this C move and swap out, even though this would give me a huge damage with Fire Punch, and there was a very slight chance that I could also kill it depending on his spread. If it is the standard spread, I had like a 20% chance of killing it with the spread I have myself. So I'm gonna be swapping out here, and I'm gonna be swapping into my Rotom-Heat. And because I'm swapping into my Rotom-Heat, I do have to take a potential Electrum-C here, but I still wanted to not risk a potential Defiant and mixed Thundurus Incarnate to be a case and go into Landorus-Therian, which would have been electric resist immunity to this. So I didn't want to get the Intimidate off and the Defiant to it, and then he blows me back with something else instead and cause a lot more havoc on that case. So I make the proper scouting from my perspective, seeing if he has the C move. If he doesn't have, for whatever reason, the C move, at least I get to save my Mega Gallade later on and still help dealing with the Jellicent and Conkeldurr 1v1, and then I know that he is not C, and then I can potentially set up myself yet again and go for the finishing blow from there. So that is gonna be the play that I did. Went into my Rotom-Heat, and now I click Volt Switch because again he doesn't have a immunity to this. And even Conkeldurr has to take yet again the similar range of health, and that leaves him towards to, I would guess, about 53% of health, and that is just about to be in a range of mean roll, which means that while Fusion Bolt would be able to OHKO everything at this point, potentially, I don't kill everything guaranteed, especially this Conkeldurr if it has max HP or some defensive investment in itself, which I have been able to tell if it does or not, because I've been able to hit it only on the special side so far. So I don't know exactly his spread, and I don't want to risk a potential situation where I don't kill it, he goes for the Drain Punch, and then he finishes me off a potential Mach Punch, and that would be annoying, or very least weakens me down to the point that Thundurus Incarnate has easier time to pick me up with a +2 Thunderbolt or with a Focus Blast if he lands it. So I'm gonna click the outrage at this point. This means that also the Jellicent, even if he happens to be a Wakam Berry for whatever reason, over Colbo Berry, I still kill it at this point, even without locking myself into Fusion Bolt. The only problem what remains right now with this, or the two problem, is that if this thing has the Curse Body and gets it, it gets a free turn with the Thundurus Incarnate, or if I get the only 2 turn of outrage here. Those are the scenarios which gives him the final opening with his last one at this point and cause a little bit of havoc depending on his item. The item is the big thing right now that really causes the headache with this Thundurus Incarnate, but I really want to emphasize, like, it has, to me, it felt like it had to be Electrum-C at this point. It didn't seem to have Plinium-C to finish me off. It has shown to be special attack oriented so far with the Thundurus Incarnate. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, it is the Electrum-C at this point, and he hopes, I would think at this point his hope is to get into +2. If he is the Electrum-C, he can take 1 Ice Beam from me from full, and then he can hopefully finish everything else off at this point, as long as I don't have a Scarfer in the back. And Mega Gallade would die into +2 Thunderbolt as well. So I have to immediately react to this and go into my Rotom-Heat and force him to go for his C move if he has it. That's the main thing that I had to do right now. If and when I would think it has to be the Electrum-C, I have to go into something that can potentially do massive damage towards him to make sure Greninja Revenge kills this thing. while at the same time forcing hopefully him to go for the C move. But he doesn't go for the C move, he actually goes for a raw Focus Blast and lands it, and that means that okay, well, Rotom-Heat goes down, and this thing is a little bit annoying at this point. Here, I'm hoping that when I go into Mega Gallade, I would force him to go for the Electrium Seed, just in case if I was really bulky variant of Mega Gallade and he would worry about killing him. So I thought that okay, I'm gonna still try to bank on if and when he would be the C move, he would go for it at this point. And now I don't have to worry about giving it a Defiant because it's clearly a Nasty Block set. And then I see, okay, he didn't still go for it. So at this point I'm like, okay, this thing is not C move. It is something else. Maybe it's an Expert Belt. Maybe it is Yachi Berry at very worst. Maybe it is a... God knows what else it could be. It definitely is not a C move at this point. So I'm like, you know what? I will take this Thunderbolt. As you can tell, I get paralyzed, and here I need to get the Shadow Ball. If I get the Shadow Ball, it leaves it in a range that I can start shuffling with U-turns to make sure, even if he was Yachi Berry variant, I have a very good chance of two-shotting with the Ice Beam plus Shadow Ball, and I guess not technically two-shotting, but getting a couple of U-turns off, and then it will die to the Ice Beam regardless, or even to Dark Pulse if I want to go for that instead, because it does 2% a little bit more if I have to respect the Yachi Berry at that point. So I go for the Shadow Ball here, but I get fully paralyzed, and here I was like, are you kidding me? Why does this happen right now that you get the 10% and then you get the paralysis on my Gopher Gigas on the same turn, and then he gets the paralyzation again as he goes for the Nasty Block, and this is a bigger problem than it was supposed to be, and this really annoyed me because I'm not supposed to be in this position. Even when how I have played so far, I think I have played well enough to this point, and I have the proper team to finish this thing off, even at the worst case scenario if it's a Yachi Berry, and I don't get the Shadow Ball on it, and he went for the Nasty Plot in front of my paralyzed Gopher Gigas, banking on the fact that I get paralyzed, meaning that he doesn't have to risk a Thunderbolt Focus Blast anymore potentially. So at this point I'm like, okay, I need to start going for the U-turns. I need to make my decision that is it Expert Belt or a Yachi Berry. I have to make a decision after this one, because I have fully healthy Kyurem-Black and I have Greninja still with the Ice Beam. So the decision what I need to make here as my Mega Gallade goes down is that do I bank him on missing a Focus Blast on my Kyurem-Black, because a +4 Thunderbolt does not kill me. I would have to make this kind of play if I anticipate it to be Yachi Berry and I decide to go that route. Or do I make the decision banking on that he is a Expert Belt versus me, and therefore the Ice Beam will be able to pick him off at least majority of the time, unless I get the mean roll, and depending on how much the second U-turn does to him, if he is the Expert Belt and not the Yachi Berry. So here I made the decision like, okay, I anticipate it to be Yachi Berry. I want to take this route because also it means that I have a 10% chance of freezing him or critting him, and maybe that helps me out to kill it instead. And I decided that I'm not gonna bank on the fact that he's gonna miss his move. So far my luck hasn't been on my favorite already with how things have gone through with this Thundurus incarnate. So I was, you know what, I'll take the chance he is the Expert Belt, and he goes for the Thunderbolt. As you can tell, that would have not killed me, but I had to make the decision at this point because what happened with the Gopher Gigas getting paralyzed like that. Now I have to bank on that. Okay, are you a Yachi Berry? If you're not, I will kill you with the Ice Beam. And then we finish this out in 1-0 fashion with the mon that I traded from him to myself on this position where he should not be at this point. By the way, the Gopher Creek is getting paralyzed and fully paralyzed on same turn. The chance of that happening on same turn is 0.625%. So at this point, I didn't feel comfortable banking on a luck. I have to bank on the fact he is not the Yahtzee Berry, which doesn't make sense versus my team compared to how he prepared for Mega Gallade and how much trouble he was checking it offensively. And you're gonna see as I go for the Ice Beam, he is the fucking Yahtzee Berry. And I'm like, please get a freeze, please get a freeze, please get a freeze or a crit. And I don't get either of them. And he finishes on with the Thunderbolt. And this is going to be the finals of the UBL D-League Season 1 versus Skyrander and his Scandinavian Stoutlands. Congratulations to him. First and foremost, I want to get this out of the way. No matter what the battle, like how it happened, I want to still congratulate him. Like genuinely congratulate him because, like I said at the beginning of the video, if there had to be two people picked that who deserved the title the most before the battle happened, two of us were playing in the finals, and either of us would have deserved it more or less based on how we have been performing, and he has shown his case to be the most definitely at least top 2 coach throughout this season, and that's why I'm okay losing to him. I am okay losing to him in that sense if I take out of the consideration how the battle went and what things went down. And now, for those who don't want to really sit down for me breaking down more in depth how things happened, why this kind of potential breakdown for me happened on this play, why I made certain plays and how these certain key elements with RNG really influenced me to play a certain way and still took away the chance of me winning, even the way I swapped out with my Mega Gallade and didn't go for the attacking move versus the Thundurus incarnate in a potential position where I didn't maybe need it anymore. If you're interested to hear those out, I'm gonna be doing a post-game breakdown on this, but if you're okay just seeing the result, I will want to thank you all for the support throughout this season. Thank you for watching my video. Regardless that how this battle turned out, hopefully you enjoyed the ride from my perspective. Hopefully you are looking forward for future content from my perspective. Maybe this is enough regards to that how we have performed and what kind of content that I'm able to provide. That hopefully we can make to the main league. We have to wait and see, and hopefully for my sake and for your sake, you can get to see me in the main league eventually, when eventually it would be starting, but obviously I don't know that for certain. And there's no certainty that any of us in D-League will make it, but we have a decent chance to make it with our showcases here, if they decide to go that route. But thank you yet again for watching. For those who wanted to just see the replay, make sure to check out Skyrander, go congratulate him, regardless how you feel about the RNG, regardless of anything else. Please go and show him some love. He's a great family man, really genuinely nice guy, and he was very gentleman about this whole battle afterwards, how he felt about how this turned out towards me, and I really respect him for that. I know he doesn't like to win this way, so make sure that you show your support and go and check him out. He has done YouTube a lot longer than I have, he's a lot bigger channel than I have, but I still want to make sure that you guys know to make sure and check him out. He's a really nice guy, and thank you for those who wanted to just see this part. And now I'm gonna be coming back shortly and explain a little bit more depth what actually happened and why. Alright, and now we are back with the post-game breakdown, basically what exactly happened in this battle, and some things that I feel like a lot of you will be quite in a hindsight mentioning that how did I play this finals, why did I swap, for example, on this situation with +2 Mega Gallade when it showed out to be the Thunderbolt. So this is gonna be the first thing that I wanted to touch on again a little bit more in depth and really talk about why I decided to preserve my Mega Gallade when I did, and I didn't take my opportunity to do a massive damage to a Mon that eventually did end up sweeping me in a very opportunist way that it was able to do that. And the reasoning why I decided to save my Mega Gallade at this point was that while I had all of my 6 Mons alive, a lot of them weren't actually able to beat 2 out of 3 members of his team. And some of those modes that were a little bit iffy situation from my team that I still valued Mega Gallade higher than them were things like, for example, Landorus-Therian, Rotom-Heat, and Greninja, for example. And Greninja to extend as well. The main thing that I really had to, what I thought about throughout this battle at this point, it was that once I had to make this decision, I had to start thinking that, okay, can I beat the Jellicent, Conkeldurr, Thundurus Incarnate combo trio with one or more members of my team? And is there a scenario that I would need my Mega Gallade still, and there's a beneficial for me to scout for this C-move, which again, I highly anticipated him to be forced to bring versus me, considering when you also saw throughout the battle how much he struggled versus a +2 Mega Gallade. And him having the Yahtzee Berry was something that I heavily criticized, that why was that his item. I'm not gonna be salty bird in that sense when he went out and tweeted out about Skyrander throughout the regular season after their battle when he lost to a Flame Charge Nasty Block Salazzle, which isn't obviously a standard set. And Yahtzee Berry, while it's not necessarily Smogon standard, it is a common item in Draft League format to put into something like Thundurus Incarnate, and majority of the time I can see it being the case for a item for this thing. And in this matchup as well, if the Mega Gallade wasn't as big of a problem to him, I would have agreed this being his, at this point I agreed it being his 3rd best item versus me throughout Team Builder and throughout the matchup in itself that we were having. But I decided wanted to prioritize to keep my Mega Gallade because I really valued this thing still higher than, barring Kyurem-Black, this was one of the most important members still to me, because it beat the Jellicent 1v1 with the Leaf Blade, it beat down the Conkeldurr 1v1, and Thundurus Incarnate, because he doesn't seem to have Fly on it, I can beat it 1v1 if the Electrium C or whatever other C move, barring a flying type move, is being burned out. So at this point I took the high percentage chance that I thought from my perspective that, okay, I preserve this thing because it's another form of winning condition at worst case scenario if Kyurem-Black happens to end up getting 2 turn out races like it did, or the curse body happens, or something else goes wrong that he outspeeds me and crits me with a Focus Blast, or he's able to get a Mach Punch with Conkeldurr and leaving me in a range of Focus Blast or a Fighting MC or anything like that. So it was really that I thought that it's very important for me to keep this thing alive and around, that it can potentially do the chip damage to a Thundurus Incarnate if it doesn't find a turn to get up the +2, so Greninja's Ice Beam will be able to then revenge kill it. So that was really the thought process why I did this play, and in a hindsight it looked like a choke because I was in a position to 6-0 him, and it looked like in a way that I took a opportunity, even if it didn't turn out into 6-0, I did easily enough damage to the point that Ice Beam would have picked off the Thundurus Incarnate itself. So while I'll accept the criticism towards that how I played this, I wanted to emphasize and make you to understand the point of view that I was looking at this, and understand that how likely I thought that this should have been a different item that it ended up being, and what eventually then ruined me considering all the other factors that came into play. But now let's move on to the second part of this post-game breakdown regards to what happened after this turn has been played out. So the second crucial part of this endgame battle, that how it ended up turning out, was on this position when Kyurem-Black was versus the Conkeldurr, and it was above 50% of health, and I had the opportunity to click Fusion Bolt, which would have highly chance killed a Thundurus Incarnate, and it also had basically 100% chance to kill a Jellicent, barring it being a Wakam-berry. But the issue what I came into this point was that because of the rolls of Volt Switch, he wasn't exact range of about 50%. He had a little bit more HP, as you can tell, which left him in a point that doesn't guarantee me to kill with Fusion Bolt, and that was something that I wasn't willing to risk. One, because he could stay alive, go for the Drain Punch and kill me off with a potential Mach Punch, which I would have to play around versus if it did happen. And that wasn't something that I was willing to risk and lose so much health almost for nothing and not do the job that it was supposed to, which was killing this thing, being the Conkeldurr. And something that if you haven't seen from Skyrander's perspective, he actually mentioned that he had a Wakam Berry on the Jelly set and not the Colbo Berry that I anticipated him to be almost forced to basically to run on it considering the matchup. But I digress on that item of choice. It was actually a small luck for me actually at this point that I didn't opt to go for the Fusion Bolt, because I knew if he went into Jelly set I would have taken the bait on that case, because I anticipate the Colbo Berry, gone for the Fusion Bolt, he would have taken the hit because of Wakam Berry and he would have burned me. And very worst, even with through the burn I would have two-shotted it. There was always a 2-turn chance, both turns exact, that Curse Body would have happened. And if that happened on the last turn right before I killed Jellicent, that still gave the opening for a Thundurus Incarnate, what it ended up getting at the very late game. And due to the fact that I swapped out, and I actually do want to touch on that as well quickly, even though I mentioned it earlier. I had the option of staying in at that point and risk the confusion with the Kyurem-Black and blow it back with the Outrage on that point. But the issue with that was that if he gets 2 turns of Nasty Plot, there was no way for me to preventing that. And the issue would have been the same that if he was Yahtzee Berry or not. And I would have lost that more likely, because unlike with +2 Thunderbolt from Thundurus Incarnate to go for Kriegers, which you saw that I currently left it barring his area what happened and I wasn't able to get the hit. I did not have the option in the back. If I risked the confusion, hit it myself, and he would have gone for potentially 2 turns of Nasty Plot and got himself into +4. So that is the second part of the breaking down, and then I'm gonna be talking about the Go for Giga scenario and how that influenced the damage calc versus Greninja at the late game, and how actually I should have supposed to won this battle, even with how I play with Mega Gallade, and how much you may have potentially disagreed with me swapping out at that point. I will be breaking down how I still should have won this finals, except the 0.625 chance or whatever chance it is for getting a Thunderbolt para plus a full para on the same turn. I'm gonna be breaking down how that was the turn when he won and I lost. Alright, now we are at the point that the Go for Gigas was in versus the Thundurus Incarnate, and as you saw already on the battle once you watched it already, earlier part of the video, I did live this hit, and now I'm gonna be showing you the calc, what I talked about versus the Thundurus Incarnate, how much I was supposed to do with the Shadow Ball, and now you can see the calc. By the way, the set what you see in Thundurus Incarnate, it's just a random set that I thought that okay, if he's a physical variant maybe he would be running this set, but the main point is that it remains to be neutral nature regards to its defenses, and he has the 4 IVs on his HP, which he admitted to me afterwards the battle that this was his spread. He was max special attack, max speed, and then 4 on HP because of the Mega Gallade on my team having to be this kind of variant. So you can see down below there that the calc versus it would have been that I would have done 33.5 to a 40.6% of damage to the Thundurus Incarnate. And that meant that after 2 rounds of U-turn, and depending on the roll of the Ice Beam in itself, the only chance for him to live these 4 moves combined with 2 U-turns, which I did with Greninja by pivoting out and weakening him down, this Shadow Ball that I would have gotten 1 Shadow Ball on him, at least guaranteed, depending on what he did on the following turn, if I didn't get paralyzed, which I talk about on a minute, that what Skyrander actually mentioned to me that he, through DMs, that what he said he would have done at that point, and how that would have influenced. So, with the Shadow Ball plus Ice Beam plus the 2 U-turns, already with those 4 moves combined, as long as I didn't get the absolute min rolls on every single one of them, I would have killed it. only scenario where he would have lived all those 4 hits combined would have been that every single time, including this Shadow Ball which you see, would have been that Min Roll, and the following moves that I would be hitting it still afterwards this would have been Min Rolls as well. So even how much the scouting the potential C move may have looked as a joke, I had this in the back if I got that item wrong on the Thundurus Incarnate. Even how unlikely I thought it should be the case, considering the matchup that Skyrander had versus me, and considering the Mega Gallade again mentioning how big of a threat it was to him, and you saw how big of a threat it was to him. So that was the first card that I wanted to talk about, and then I want to talk about the fact that what Skyrander admitted to me today, actually, as I'm recording this, about the what he would have done at this point with the second Nasty Plot when he went for it. He said to me that even if I didn't get paralyzed on the first Thunderbolt and I was like a fully status free Golfer Kriegers, he said that he was willing to go for the second Nasty Plot and bank on the fact that he will leave Ice Beam alone from a Greninja, and nothing in the back was Choice Sculpt to deal damage anymore to it, and he can easily break down everything at +4 instead of risking things at +2 and the damage put on what he was doing. So based on that, I actually, without getting paralyzed, he said that basically with that is that I should have therefore gotten 2 rounds of Shadow Balls on him, which means together they do like 67% combined, even minimum. And once we break down the Ice Beam damage, even through a Yahtzee barrier and with the spread that I had going into this battle, that was already enough to win. So this really was the play, or the, not really the play, but the RNG turn that decided this battle. This alone, even how we felt about the Mega Gallade swapping out, this was the turn where it broke down the battle. But now let's go to the point that where we see the very end and you get to see the Ice Beam calc in itself, and basically confirming the post narration that I still have about this battle. And what really made me so upset and sitting in a burning house, as you probably saw by now, a picture, a memes picture, but baked potato sitting in middle with that, saying that this is fine. That was literally me these past 24 hours about this battle, but I wanted to put this output there for you guys, this information that you see in front of me of what I'm breaking down, so you understand the consequences of that RNG that went down. But now let's go to the final part and then wrapping out this video. Here we are finally with the final part of this entire post-game commentary, and I guess my salty talk and me working out my own saltiness out of this, while at the same time trying to put things into perspective for you all and kind of for myself as well, and try to make myself think through this battle entirely, regardless how I feel about the RNG, and still try to look at what could I learn from this and what were actually the things that turn out this battle to be in Skyrander's favor instead of mine, and why this happened. So you can see now on the screenshot yet again from the calcs, with the spread that I had this spread, and then I had bulk investment on my Greninja in order to leave a Thunder Punch from a Adamant Choice Scarf Assault, and then I put the rest on the special attack, and this, without the Yahtzee, it did about 76 or 78%, I don't remember exactly, but it was about range where after Stealth Rocks it would have been killed, and this enabled me to kill a very bulky Cycle 50% as well, barring a Yahtzee berry as well. So that is kind of why you see this kind of spread for me, and it's not like 252, which you would normally think would be the case, but at this point it did not actually matter, besides on these rolls what you're gonna be seeing from my perspective. So the Ice Beam would have done this much, and I basically, when you saw this damage from this basically looked to me to be the absolute mean roll that I got from this, which was about the 39% or whatever it would have been at this point. So that damage right there, what you see right in front of you right now, after I had help with Automatthic and he showed me a screenshot with the HP bar, he showed me that based on his HP bar, if it is correct, there might be few percentage of what they may be, but it hinted towards that he was around 38% of health. And Skyrander actually told me after the game that it actually had the HP number to confirm this, that it was exactly at 38% of health when you look at its HP in like HP amount that he had and what kind of spread he was running then. So unless I would have gotten the absolute mean rolls and only getting one Shadow Ball off, when I got these U-turns off and this Ice Beam, I would have killed it. And if and when he would have allowed me to get the 2 Shadow Balls off, as he admitted towards me when we have been talking about this battle endlessly, partly because of me, because I wanted to make sure that I know as much as possible how this endgame would have turned out if there weren't these RNGs involved, just for my own sake and be able to provide this on this video. So because he admitted that he would have gone for the second Nasty Bot regardless of me being paralyzed or not, this Ice Beam call doesn't actually end up mattering on that scenario if the paralyzation wasn't an effect, and I should have won this at this point 1-0 the finals, regardless in a position there where it looked like that I was supposed to 6-0, but I didn't, because I made the play that I looked to, in a hindsight that I guess I disagree with it now. But I understand fully why I did it at this point, and hopefully you can understand it as well, considering that I did not know his item and I had my reasons to think that it isn't the Yahtzee bear in itself. But this is going to be the finals. Sorry for the lengthness of the video, but there were a lot of things obviously to talk about, even though it was a very fast-paced battle. But so many things influenced the outcome of the winner of this battle, and unfortunately for my case, and for those who were looking forward to see me winning, I'm not able to get the perfect record throughout the season, and we lose only one game this season. It's only 1-0, but it's the one that matters the most, that it is the finals, and trust me, it pains me so much, and it's gonna take a while for me to cure from this, but it's okay. I can be very proud what I was able to accomplish this season. I think the biggest thing that I always respect regards to anyone that I play throughout the Draft League, playing Pokemon in itself, is the high consistently level, and I really think I have reached a very high consistently level throughout this season that you were able to see, and that is in the end that something like this kind of RNG factor in the finals cannot take away from me. I can be proud of that and showcase what level of player I am in Draft League, and hopefully people, now that they have seen from my perspective, they've seen also that how this RNG played into play and why I wasn't the champion. But again, congratulations to Skyrander, make sure to check him out. He's a great family guy, genuinely honest guy, and very... I like his humor as well. I like his humor, and both of us are... he is from Sweden, I'm from Finland, so we are somewhat connected in that sense that we are around same area. Our countries are somewhat similar in that sense, and we have a little bit of rivalry because of that too. So make sure to check him out, and thank you for him with the way he kind of talked about me about this battle, and he didn't turn out to be like a very dickhead about this and just claimed the winner, and he admitted that he knew that he wanted to win this other ways that it ended up being, but he did make his correct plays. I want to emphasize on that how much I criticize about his set and team builder part. My own criticism towards myself is the Mega Galate play and not staying in a hindsight, and in a hindsight maybe I should have run a Choice Scarf Rotom-Heat instead in this matchup over the set that I was running. That probably was the one, if there was a Choice Scarfer that I should have picked on this team for this kind of scenario, just in case if even this would have happened, that would have been the criticism to my own team build at this point. But I'm proud of the team, I'm proud of how I performed regardless of everything, and for Skyrander, he played it correctly throughout this entire battle. Maybe the second Nasty Plot, if I wasn't paralyzed, would have been something that I would have considered a choke, but barring that, he played it beautifully, and regardless how I feel about his team building part, I cannot deny with the result. He won, and I cannot say fair and square, I guess, but it's not his fault, but it is what it is, and I have to live with it. It's the yin and yang of Draft Leagues in Pokemon itself. Thank you all for your support throughout this season. And stay tuned for tomorrow. I will be having the Q&A, and hopefully some of you are still able to go there. Leave a question if you haven't, and I will be uploading that tomorrow, regards for hitting 100 subscribe numbers. So thank you all for that. Thank you all for support. Sorry for delaying this video, but it was necessary for me, and hopefully help you guys from learning from this one way or another what happened. And thank you all for watching, and until next time, until tomorrow actually, I'll be see you guys later.